Good morning, everyone. This is your New Year's edition of the Bucks Island Area Fishing Report. I'm Dan O'Sullivan. Hey, we're going to be checking in with Tom, Lee, and Gentry, and then filling in for Logan Martin and Lay Lake again is going to be Tracy Robinson. We will be right back with what the guys have to say. Hey, it's Saturday, January the 4th. I've got Lee Pitts joining me right now. We're going to talk a little bit of Neely Henry and Weiss Lake. Lee, let's start at Neely Henry since we hit Weiss Lake so frequently. What's going on the river?
You know, it's that same kind of deal as that cold weather wintertime bite. The shaky head is good right now and still catching some on square bill. And of course, with the cold water and this cold coming in, that jerk bait is kind of working a little bit. I think that the fish are kind of doing their winter thing. This little bit of cold, well, this bad cold that we've got coming in is going to be rougher on the fishermen, I think, than the fish. They're where they're supposed to be, and they're doing their thing. You know, they're already out there in it, and they're acclimated. So it's going to be a slow bite. It's the shaky head is something that you can just kind of lay out there and let them come pick it up, and that jerk bait too. Slow. Most of your bites are going to be when it's setting still. So it's just one of those typical wintertime. Got this front coming in. Just going to have to get even slower.
The jerkbait bite's one of my favorites on the lake. Is it something that you're going to keep the fish above or keep the bait above the fish, or is it going to have to get down to them a little bit?
You can keep it above them. You know, they're not going to run out there a long way and chase it. I think it's that they know everything. And I try to tell people when I'm fishing and doing this, I said, look in your minnow bucket when you're crappie fishing. When it's extra cold, those are not running in circles and doing anything. They're just laying there, just trying to kind of make it a little quiver here and there. Slow it down, slow that thing down, let them see it, let them ease up to it, and it's not going to be a real aggressive bite. It's going to be something that feels just kind of like a little worm bite. It'll tick it, and then you just lean back in him.
All right, let's turn to Weiss. We got about 45 seconds. Tell me what's going on at Weiss Lake.
We're looking at about the same kind of thing. Weiss has a little bit more with some of the creeks, looking for these harder bottoms. You're also looking for the bait. You know, watch that bait. Some days, if you've got light wind and that sun's up, fish are going to be a little higher. They're going to come up on that bank a little more too. Some of those days where you got wind and it's rough, cloudy, they may be deeper. So watch for the bait, watch where they're laying, and just try to kind of mimic that and just put it there. Like I said, slow bite again. Square bill's been pretty good, and some of this stuff, all these harder bottoms, longer points with some rock on it. Get a little rocks, it absorbs that heat, pulls those fish up in it. So that's something you can look at too. But once we're talking this wintertime fishing, slow down, enjoy your day.
Appreciate it, brother. We will talk to you again next week. Go get you a deer. First time we get to talk to Tracy Robinson in this new year. Tracy, let's talk a little bit of Logan Martin and Lay Lake. Tell me what's going on there. You pick. Where do you want to start?
Hey, we'll start down at Lay. Lay's been really on fire here the past few weeks. They're catching some giant spotted bass on Lay right now. 22, 23 pounds worth of spots is what they're weighing in right now, which is, not unheard of, but that's some fun right there. And unfortunately or fortunately, whatever you're into, the forward facing sonar is what's getting it done there. And it's kind of the main deal on both lakes. There's other ways to catch them, but that's what's winning the tournaments down there right now at Lay and Logan. Main Lake chasing those bait balls with the little minnows, 20 plus pounds of spotted bass. The water temperature still in the 50s though. The swim jig bite's still able to catch some fish. Kind of Main Lake grass points, just inside some of those creeks and ditches. You can still get bit on the largemouth, but unfortunately, there's not enough of those to compete with those 20 plus pound bags of spotted bass on that forward facing sonar. The crappie, you still see some of the crappie eating on the bait balls out there. Not like it was, but the majority of the crappie, you're having to get into those brush piles in that 15, 18 foot, and you'll see the crappie above them. And that's probably where I'm seeing the most crappie, but there are still a few out there if you're interested in chasing those out there in the open water on the bait balls.
All right, let's turn our attention to Logan Martin. What are you hearing out there? I know the water's down, but those fish have still got to be kind of pushed together.
Yeah, 18 pounds yesterday, 19 pounds was the two first and second place at Logan. A-Rig and the forward-facing sonar again was first and second place yesterday. But talking to one of those guys there yesterday, his biggest fish did come on a DT6. So you can still catch some of those fish on the chunk rock, pulling that DT6 flat side crankbait, through those gravel bars, if you will. That bite still can happen, but again, it's still hard to compete with those forward-facing sonars and the volume of fish they're catching out there doing that. But that bite's still doable if you don't have the forward-facing sonar. Again, it's the main lake points, the gravel bars, and whatnot with the shallow-sided crankbaits. All the crappie I'm seeing down there, and my buddy's seeing are in that 20-foot range. You know where some good brush piles are, 15 to 20 foot. They're stacked with crappie right now.
Is that a vertical bite? Are you able to cast, or are you able to push for them?
Dan, I didn't cast for them. I didn't even fish for them, but I felt like I would have to get vertical where they were at for me to go straight down on top of those brush piles in that depth of water. But you get
Tracy, as always, brother.
Sorry.
That's all right. Tracy, as always, brother, we appreciate everything, and we will talk to you again soon. Hey, we got our good friend Gentry Gordy going to join us right here. Talk a little bit of Lake Martin and Jordan Lake. Gentry, what's going on at Lake Martin right now?
Fishing's pretty good, Dano. The elusive big bite still, if you're lucky, one or two a day. But really, I've been focusing, as cold as it's gotten, the water temperature's in the low 50s. I like to fish shallow. We talked about it last week. Some of that dark chunk rock, bluff walls are still holding some good fish. But with the water being down 7 feet, there's a lot of those floating docks that are got a foot of water up underneath them. Got the black plastic that heats up.
Yep.
I don't ever pass one of them up without sticking a wacky rig up under it. Your jerk bite bait is going to be pretty decent. Martin, those spots at Martin are funny. First thing in the morning when it's really, really cold, they tend to be more active on it. And throughout the day, you can slow it down some as that sun gets up. But in the morning time, it seems like you can work it, fairly quick, and they'll jump on it.
So what's going to be more productive, the jerk bait or the wacky rig, or what's going to be your most productive presentation?
Numbers wise, if you just want to go have fun, I think your jerk bait may be more productive, especially if you get around the bait. But if you're fishing a tournament, you're going to have to, run your jerk bait in the morning and keep it honest throughout the day. But when you find that big dark chunk rock and those floating docks, don't pass them up, because that's usually where your big bite's going to come from.
All right, I got you. Talked to Matt Herron yesterday. He went to Jordan Lake fishing, said he found some dirty water and was able to catch a few fish shallow. What else are you hearing out of Jordan?
Yeah, it's, the old broken record, it's the forward-facing sonar, but that's not my style. But this time of year, cold, dirty water, and like a little bit bigger square bill, like a 2.5 over a 1.5 or a bigger flat-sided type crankbait. I've got I do like a yellow with a chartreuse back. I may have a red one. I may have a shad one on it. And I may have two or three at the same time. But to me on Jordan, I'll take it to my grave. When the water's muddy and cold, man, a bluegill colored chatterbait bumping on the bottom is hard to beat.
Gotcha. Is it going to be a numbers deal, or is it going to be just a big fish deal? What are you looking for?
There's so many 3 to 4.5 pound spots up there, and they'll get around the bank. But it's just, tournament wise, it's just going to be a size thing. I had a memory pop up on my phone from years ago on January the 1st. I had, fun fishing had 22, 23 pounds. And I was just beating the bank, and I remember the water was dirty. I couldn't get bit on anything. I tied on a green pumpkin trickworm wacky rig. Got, caught my first fish. It clued me in. Then I switched, because I was throwing the reds and the bright colors because the water was so muddy. That's when I tied on that bluegill colored chatterbait and just started crawling it on the bottom. And I've done it ever since.
Gentry, as always, brother, we appreciate everything, and we will talk to you again soon. We are joined by Tom Ott, going to talk a little bit of New Year's fishing on Lake Guntersville. Tom, I know there's some cold fronts coming, probably going to drop off really, really, really low in the next couple of weeks, but has the fishing been okay now?
The fishing has definitely been okay. I really haven't seen too much of a lull in it, to be honest with you, Dano. I mean, there's just a lot of bait. The fish are really following these balls of bait, whether you're out bass fishing or you're crappie fishing, or maybe even I've heard some guys catching some big old stripe. I don't know. I don't really go after those, but it's still really solid. And I think if we get the cold weather we're going to have, it'd be nice to get a little bit of a shad kill, but I don't know if we'll see it that cold. But the fish are just doing pretty much the same thing they've been doing the last few weeks. I mean, it's a good A-rig bite with the bass. All you got to do is kind of just follow the birds around and look for some activity on the surface. I mean, we've seen some bass that have actually surfaced on us right next to the boat. So, I mean, they're very active. It's just, and it's a good time once you get into them. As far as the crappie go, it's kind of the same deal. I think from a standpoint, maybe the bluffs, the causeways, anything rocky has been producing a little bit better. I've been around some hard stuff. And the grass edge, maybe 8-10 foot deep. That's where the fish have been really holding. But I think, as we talked, casting versus a little bit of floats, I think you can still catch some fish out deep on stumps too. So, I mean, there's a lot of things happening. I think it's probably going to change in the next week or two, but we'll just see.
Yeah, I know that the bite for bass in the drains, when it starts to get really cold, they start to kind of pull into that little bit of deeper water. They may not want to go all the way out to the river channel, but is that a bite you're going to look for? Maybe hop on a rattle trap or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. From now until we get into spring, that rattle trap's going to be a staple on this lake anyway, and certainly a chatterbait too. But those are the things you look for. You look for flat kind of point areas and the drains leading up to them. Those are where the bait fish are going to be. Those are where the bass are going to congregate. And especially when we get these cold fronts, that's when you really want to slow down and pick those areas apart, and maybe even throw a jig or something along those lines. Just something a little bit slower, a little bit more subtle for the fish, that are, not everybody likes the cold weather popping in for sure.
Yeah, I know. And it's a time of the year that you can catch a really, really big one this time of the year at Guntersville, places like Guntersville, because they seem to want to feed up once and be good. Tom, brother, we appreciate it. Happy New Year to you. Everything that you do for us here at Bucks Island. Enjoy some time with St. Jennifer on the water. Stay warm. Well, that wraps up our Bucks Island area fishing report for Saturday, January the 4th. Hey, thanks to the guys for everything that they do every year to give us the information. Let us go catch a few fish every week. Hey, we're going to be open again here starting on the 7th, Tuesday morning, 8 o'clock. We'll be right back doing business. It's that time of the year. If you're looking to get your boat ready to go fishing or cruising, come see us in the service department, in the parts department. Of course, if you're looking for that new boat, see Katie and everybody in the sales department. Of course, don't forget the loft if you're looking for that special tackle item. We are back open after the new year and ready to rock and roll. We will see you soon. You are the best part of Bucks Island. We look forward to seeing you every week.